today's press briefing. For the past 2 weeks, we've been out due to some water engagement, and it's good to have you here. We have with us the Deputy Press Secretary, who's going to address you today. So, Deputy Press Secretary, the press.
Again, let me pick up from where Alex stopped with his introduction. We are happy to be back, like he said, at our usual venue. We've been out and about in the last few weeks, bringing you information relating to the activities of the government. And again, I'm sure you've had a lot of information over the last few weeks. We want to extend our thanks and appreciation to all of you for your continued effort in helping us propagate the information relating to the activities of this administration via the office of the President, His Excellency Dr. George Weah. We are also happy that we've brought in some more spies to the briefing by bringing in the Minister of State that also took some time off his busy schedule to speak to you on trending national issues a week ago. It was important to put that spies to the briefing, and we are hoping to do a lot more in the coming months ahead of us to bring in people of status that will speak to you on those trending national issues. Today we are happy, and we want to extend greetings via your various media outlet to the people of Liberia on behalf of His Excellency Dr. George Weah, President of this country, who's faring well, and again his concentration remains very high in relation to the growth and agenda of this administration. The President is making sure that his tenure in office will be remarkable in terms of the things he's opting to see happen in our country, infrastructure and governance of the state. Today we've come to recap on some of the issues we want you to know about. You may have heard some of them briefly. We will further deliberate or expand on them to provide some clarity, and then we will afford you the opportunity to run into the basic day-to-day politics of our country. We know every time we assemble you, equally come prepared to ask us some questions relating to the forward march of our country. So at the tail end of this briefing, you will have the opportunity to seek some clarity on some of the trending national issues. To go further, we always want to start with what is trending infrastructure-wise in our country, because the vision of this president is about improving the lives of Liberians. It is also about making sure that services are provided for the Liberian people in all sectors. And his engagement with Liberia's international partners remains very high. His continued engagement with developmental partners seem to be on a daily basis. All of those are accumulating into what we are seeing in our country, even in the midst of the tight economic situation globally, this government is living up to the expectation of the Liberian people in terms of working towards improving those services for the Liberian people. So it cut across in different form, in infrastructure, in education, with other partners who are making their investment into our country. So we want to report a few things to you today, which we talked about here, but again, it is a progress report to those things that are very important for you to know, especially for those of you that have always placed a doubt around the achievement of this administration. Sometime back, we've sat here in this same forum and made several reports to you on initiatives by this administration, something that the president have actually talked about, and he continued to talk about even with his engagement with those players in the sector. We've reported to you some of the ongoing infrastructure projects earmarked by this administration, especially under the office of the president, in alleviating the hardship with our brothers and sisters in the markets around the country. And you've seen a lot of different market structures coming online, from the 14 Gorbachev market to the other markets that the president has initiated. We've been reporting to you about ongoing construction of a market in Ganta, Nimba County. We want to report to you today that that market structure is now completed and is ready for dedication. We've returned from Ganta over the last few days of the weekend. We've gone to assess the level of work at the Ganta market. That structure, as of this morning, is being tentatively turned over to the Ganta Marketing Association to do environment cleaning, that is to clean around the structure. The team from the Liberia Agency for Community Empowerment LIS, as I speak, they are currently in Ganta, and they are in conversation with the elder maid there to clean around the facility, preparing it for dedication tentatively on December the 3rd. So we are looking forward to the president dedicating that facility tentatively first week in December. That is to live up to the president's commitment. That structure were to be dedicated some time ago, but again, due to the COVID and other individuals that infiltrated the facility and looked at some of the electrical appliances or things that were placed into that, brought a standstill to the project. So the project is now completed, and the dedication ceremony is scheduled for first week in December. Tentatively, it should be on the 3rd, but things could happen and it could be pushed around from that date. We also want to inform you that we've told you about the President Pro Housing Unit that started in the southeast. Grand Crew, Grand Says, Grand Jide, to be precise, Pele Village, Tuzon, and other villages in the Grand Jide area. That project now is moving into Bon and Nimba counties, and this is of no political reason. This is something the president talked about long before the politics of our country. His vision has always been helping people who live in deplorable, dilapidated conditions for a very long time, in making sure that their lives can change from one stage to the other, like you see happening in the Popo Beach area. I'm surprised that some of you haven't made any follow-up to Popo Beach to see the level of work on the second phase of that project is going very, very, very well. And in the next few weeks, we are hoping that we can give you a tour around that facility to see what seems to be happening there. So the Popo housing project now moves to Bond and Nima County. The team from the Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment list has identified 12 towns or villages in Nimba. Those 12 towns and villages will benefit from the 100 housing units. So it's going to be distributed according to the size of the town or according to the size of the village. So based on the current fact-finding and location from the team of LACE, they've identified 12 villages in Nima County that will benefit from the houses. Some of it will carry 10 units, some of them will carry 15 units, some of them will carry 20 units based on the size of the village or the town. So those towns has been identified. We haven't gotten hold of the total list of the towns. I was on one of those trips on the weekend in the Bond County area, and so in Bond County as well, they've identified 12 villages in Bond County that will also be benefiting from those units, compartment or the structure, 2 bedrooms with living room, back porch and front porch, inside bathroom, a very sustainable structure. So the towns and villages has been identified. It's about to get approved by the president, and early December, upon the dedication ceremony in Ganta and of the market, it is expected that the president will break grounds for those projects in the 2 counties. So early December, it is expected that the 100 housing unit for Nimba will commence with groundbreaking ceremony, and the 100 housing unit in Bond County will also commence with a groundbreaking ceremony. We've also been here and told you about ongoing construction work for education. So it is not just about infrastructure in the counties, it is also about infrastructure taking place in the country in education. The president is currently doing some very big intervention at the Kenneja Public School. You are aware that he paid an unannounced visit. By the way, that school is where the president normally votes and is within his community. And it's almost been there for years. I'm told since 1968 that structure was erected. It's been there in a very deplorable condition. The students been sitting there, it's been raining, and the roof of the building were all deplorable. And so the president decided to pay an unannounced visit. Upon the president's visit, he noticed that the structure needed some very big intervention. And again, he had to call in the Liberian Agency for Community Empowerment list to get involved. They've changed the entire roof of that building. They've done a new ceiling work into the entire structure. As I speak, they are doing the painting of the building. They are doing the new restroom for the students, and they're doing a whole lot of different intervention in there for the sole purpose of providing a good learning environment for those students who attend the Kenneja Public School. That also tells you that the president is not just looking one way in his drive for development in the country. Moving forward, in Kakata, Mangibi County, the Lanko Lepe High School that we talked about, that was built since 1965. There's been no president, according to our research, that have visited that institution from the day it was erected in Kakata. President Weah paid a visit there. He was accompanied by the superintendent of that county sometime back. And again, the condition of that building did not represent a learning institution, especially in the 21st century. As we speak to you, Lanko-Lepe is benefiting from a new brand auditorium. For the first time in the existence of that school since 1965, they've redone the entire building in terms of providing some facility, changing the roof of the building, doing addition, providing corridor for students. And the last time I visited the center, it was so exciting to see the students, seeing men at work, and they are all eagerly waiting to see when that Lanko-Lepe project will come to a completion. And we want to report to you that the project is now reported for completion at the end of this month, November. And that will tell you that Lanko-Lepe will be the brand new institution. The first president in our history who's gone to that facility. Attesting to that could be the administrators of the school, who said they were very pleased to see a sitting president visit their school and instruct the renovation and completion of a new auditorium and providing corridor for students with disability on the campus of the school. So by the end of this month, those of our viewers and friends in the Kakata area will see a brand new Lanko-Lepe school that was built since 1965. And since 1965, that school did not receive a touch in terms of 1962. Okay, 1962. Thanks for that reminder. Since 1962, so you're going to see that intervention that will bring life into the Mangibi area. So the president is looking in that direction as well. State around infrastructure that is very key for us to tell you about on today is that the demolition process have started at Douala. You remember that the president programmed for the Douala market some time ago, and we are hoping that we will not run into the situation with Douala and then the situation with Riverside County. I was telling somebody here when I entered here, no disrespect to our people from Riverside. You remember the story of Riverside County that they were about to do some road and the caterpillars went to drive on the road. As of the day that caterpillar got there, some snake bit the caterpillar and the caterpillar remains there and it is stayed there. We are hoping that we will not have the same situation with Douala. The president is very upbeat to see the Douala market comes alive. He's very hopeful that the project will live up to its expectation. We've gotten report that since Sunday, all of the heavy machines that have gone to Douala, every time they made an attempt to put on the building, the tire will burst. So 4 machines have broken down since Sunday. The contractors have complained to Liz that they find it difficult to understand what is going on with the market. They've moved in their resources, their logistics, but they are finding it difficult to carry on the demolition. What they are planning now is to do a prayer service to Douala market, so before they break down the structure, because it sound a little bit comical, but it is serious. Because if the government is working in time and they've taken the machines there to break down the old market structure. And all of the machines are encountering just one simple problem. You drive the machine from a location, but as soon as the machine reaches Douala and enter the market ground where they sort of do the demolition, and then there is a situation. So we've spoken to the team of Liz, they reported that, and they are working around it. And we are hoping that we will not have the river cess kind of a situation where the machines will break down and then the project will come to a standstill. But I know that the president, knowing the importance of development in the country, will see the best way possible, and the team responsible will work around it. The marketeers at the Douala market and those who are in the Douala area needs to understand that the government projects needs to get started, and if people are in any way in their own setting involved, we will encourage them to make sure that the development of the country goes on unhindered, because it is very important that the president's dream for that project comes to pass. So just running you through some little bit of the information. Like yesterday, you briefly heard from the Minister of State. He was trying to project some of the issues relating to the government issue. This big talk about transformer in town and transformer on its way. It is now clear, crystal clear, that 26 transformer will arrive on November the 20th, and of course 10 pieces of those transformers at 50 kVA transformer, and 16 pieces of those transformer at 250 kVA transformer. We are hoping that upon the arrival of the transformer in the country, your issue with LECs in the communities will now become history, because the Liberia Electricity Corporation will be carrying out all of the necessary assessment to make sure that those transformers are installed at the needed communities, so to put an end to the issue of darkness in our country, especially in our communities. 56, I'm told 56 pieces of additional transformer will arrive in the country on December the 10th. And of course, among those 56 transformers that would arrive, 5 pieces of those transformers will be a 50 kVA transformer, and 51 pieces of it will be a 250 kVA transformer. The installation, we are told, of the arrival of the transformer that comes on the 20th will be from the 22nd of November. You'll start to see the installation of brand new transformers in communities to tackle the issue of transformers. We've talked about this repeatedly. I've even seen people reference me in vehicles and say, "Oh, and Smith always said bringing transformer in the community," and some people are they are not polite in their conversation with information that we disseminate. But we'll come back here and re-echo these things to you, so that to tell you that it is not just for us to sit on this platform and give you information that seem to be far from the truth. So we always try to jot our information properly, because everything we talked about here are things that represent the vision of the president and his thinking about the country. And so that you also get to know that on the road there are intervention currently on the roads. The Johnsonville Road, for those of you who talk about the challenges on that road, you need to again start to see what's happening. Men at work currently. The president has paid a visit to the Robertsfield side of the road. The public work team and the contractors have started some very big intervention, and that is all intended to live up to the president's vision for infrastructure development. I know you will take some time to ask us a few questions before we wrap up. We just recap some of the issues for you, but there's one specific thing I want to speak to before I entertain a few questions from the team here on today. Is the way people interpret things around the presidency. A few days ago, the president was part of a team of government officials who's going to sign the book of condolence for a fallen friend and brother and member of the government, Mr. Emmanuel Batiniswa. Following the signing ceremony, the president was engaged by the media. And his media interaction, the issue of security and concern about the president, whether he was worried about people who have died mysteriously, was a concern to the president. The president has always been concerned and will continue to be concerned about every Liberian, whether you're in the marketplace or you're in a professional setting or you are sitting somewhere in a little village somewhere. The security of this state is the paramount concern of the president. That is why he's remained very peaceful, very orderly, and he's not chasing people out of the country. The president is not allowing police to brutalize people. The president is not involved in witch hunting people. The president administration is not going after people. When things happen in our country, people already build a perception and go about pointing fingers here and there and making allegations that sometimes seem very far to substantiate. Again, when the president spoke to the issue on the issue of security, the president was referencing the beauty of what he saw during his stay at the IAA. The president was sitting there and he was watching every activities around the vicinity of the Internal Audit Agency, which tells people that even in the midst of the government providing you security, you can also be your own security. The way you move, the places you go, your interaction can also provide you your own security. It is also important that if people are of status, there is nothing wrong to place in those technical or modern gadgets that will also help with your security. The president did not say all Liberians should go and buy CCTV cameras to put in their respective homes because the government lacked the capacity to provide security. Again, our friends from the other side of the divide have taken this issue to be the issue of talk. Sometimes we feel that those guys are so timid, so they look for every little straw and they want to capitalize on those things to make our country and our citizens feel vulnerable. You are not vulnerable, and we are not. Things might happen, things will happen, and with state security and involvement of the president, the government will always go to the cause of those issues. That is why when things happen that is of doubt, the best thing any government around the world will do is to investigate. No government of this world jump to conclusion without investigation. So it is not possible for this administration headed by President Weah to make conclusion without investigation. You may have all of your perception, live with all of your thinking about things that have happened to people or to individuals, and you can place your own feeling into those things. But again, the government having left any of its citizens vulnerable, and the government will not allow you to be vulnerable. But if you are capacitated and work on your own activities, knowing places that you go and people you interact with, there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong. You can be your own security. you can definitely be your own security. The state is responsible for the general security of the country. The president did not tell us to tell you, or he did not reference in his comments that you should go about to secure camera. All Liberians should go about secure CCTV camera because the government lacked the capacity. For those of our friends who understood it that way, they need to rethink. Go back to the audio. Go back to the audio and do your proper analysis. It is not possible for people to continue to hang on those straws and think that they will be malign the character of the president and think that the president is not thinking about the Liberian people. This president is a vision bearer, and he's thinking more about the security of this state. That is why our country has remained peaceful, even in the midst of some Liberians not being satisfied. It is not possible that the entire population will be satisfied with this administration. The president is not thinking that each and every Liberian will support him. There were people who was just here 12 years ago who feel they are the master of Liberia problem. They got the solution to the problem. They got the answer to the problem. But they failed to solve the same problem that they left here and expect a government that is challenged with COVID, that is challenged with current realities of this world to solve them in 2 years. The government is not having a honeymoon. The president is not in a relaxed party to say let the Liberian people go about and just forget about the Liberian people. That is why he's holding these major conversation meetings night, day, and morning in making sure that those issues that concern us as a people are adequately addressed. We are making gains, but how many of the people out there who criticize those same gains are now talking about it? The Millennium Challenge Compact, for example. Oh, our score last year was bad. The opposition and people, few hard-headed men took it. They ran with it here. The government was a failure. Today we've made some very good mark. Are they talking about it? Oh, they are ashamed to even say, oh, the government scored in gender. The government have done well in rule of law. The government have done well with security. But when the government had a bad scorecard in the last report, or they took it here as almost redoing the Liberian national anthem. But today, they no longer want to talk about that issue because the international partners believe in the ability of this administration. They believe in the leadership of this president. So if you look at the government scorecard from last year to this year, you see the level of progress, the achievement, the score is a very big difference. But they will not want to tell you about that. That alone is of no concern. Is of no big achievement because no one wants to talk about the government achievement. That is not their business though. But they look for those little things that make no sense. And they play on the gullibility of the Liberian people. And they come out and say all sort of different things about this administration. The administration will not get distracted. The president is not distracted. And it is for the people of this country to believe in this administration because President Weah remains very strong. He remains very, very, very peaceful. He remains very peaceful. So we just thought that on today we can again come back here, as a family of the media to bring to your attention and your viewers' attention some of what we think that they should know about. And so at this point, we will entertain a few questions, and then we will part company with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Press Secretary, for providing light on some of the things that are spotted. So we'll take questions, and please call us your name and your institution.
Thank you. I'm Julius Content from Fortune Television. Mr. Tobe, thank you for your deliberation. Clearly, I would like to know, relative to the last comments that the president made at the IAA. Did the president speak in context, or is it that his statement has been understood. Number two, the president since 2018 has been paying the WAEC, then now WAEC fees for all 12 graders. And of late, 25 students came out with high marks, credits. Out of that, just one student from the public school. In terms of the overall performances of the students, private school students continue to dominate. Is this issue of concern to the government?
Well, I think that is something that, you know, we in the government cycle sometimes will get hint about these things before it is even out to the public. When we got the initial report about the performance of the students in Watts, we were all like very surprised. Remember, the students went to Watts when schools were temporarily suspended, and you know, the situation around the education sector was so alarming. It was so tough on the students. So people have had misconception about the result, and people just thought that we were going to the wards and students were going to write their exam and the result will be decimal. But if you look at the result from the last wards to this current one just written by the students, you know the level of improvement, and it speaks volume, and it's something that we should all commend our students for, because they've gone to a process on a very difficult, you know, situation. They stopped going to classes. Some of the classes were suspended. The Ministry of Education had to go back and forth in the regulation with the health authority. Today we've gone to WAGS and we've come up with some very good result. The schools that came up very well, and those schools that performed very well, the students that came up, the Dukes, I'm sure right now she's being provided some very good assistance. There's been promises made to further, you know, her education, something that this government take pride of. I've heard, you know, the Minister of Finance smart about this, and I see the Minister of Gender, for example, and, you know, commend a female. No disrespect to the male. We've had exam here. The Firestone students, the boys were doing very well in previous exam. This time around, we are happy that a female came out, you know, and we are looking forward to seeing more. But it also speaks to the level of what have been put into our education sector, and we are looking forward that the students will remain focused and not distracted with all of the social activities in our country. There were times here where students were having Friday beach parties, parents were complaining. It was almost like a running battle on Super Friday and what have you. I'm sure that we've curtailed some of those things right now, and the students are again paying some attention, and that's the kind of result we are getting. So the government, the president, and everyone else in our education sector feel very pleased, whether it's about the public school or the private school. Again, it is education. It reflects on the country performance, and you will not hear people from the other device talk about this good thing in education. They are waiting if the result were to be decimal with the failure mark or the failing mark very high. Or you will hear how messy the education system is. You will hear all of the negatives about the education system. Now we got some level of civility and improvement with good mark into the system. It is very difficult for people to even come out and know, as leaders of our country, to appreciate the level into that sector. We should not always be waiting to just condemn. We should also commend when it's necessary. So whether the lady, I know that she's a Liberian, we're not going to put her in a category. She is a Liberian, and those who wrote the exam are all Liberians. We are not concerned about their political affiliation or their parents' political affiliation. We are concerned about they are Liberians. When they are successful, it reflects on the country. When they all failed in the exam, they also reflect on the country education system. But again, they've done very well, and the president is pleased. And I'm sure there will be other intervention in helping people to do a lot more in that sector. On the issue of what the president said at the IAA as your follow-up concern, I'm sure, Julius, you listen, I'm sure, and you heard the way the president, I'm sure it was Dennis who asked the president the question. And she asked two brilliant questions to the president on that day, and the president was speaking, putting into perspective the issue of our own security. And you heard the president even reference, even as human, places you go concern your security. Your movement at night is also about your security. Why it is true that we got police people on the street, we got paramilitary people in communities or places, but you are your own security. So there is nothing wrong. I'm impressed, like the president said. He was impressed sitting there and watching all the activities around the IAA building. It tells you that if people are capacitated to do those things, it will also help with security. But for people now to take it in their own context and say the president have said, or the country lacks security, and he want the security again, so you also go buy CCTV camera, and you not get money, your country already had. The president did not tell you to buy the CCTV camera. The president was speaking in context, and his context was very clear that we are our own security. Even with the state providing you security, you need to be your own security. So you think the way Justice sitting here, he can just jump off from here and walk and be walking from your house and say he went Douala 2 o'clock in the morning because he feel that the government will put security behind him? That is not the way to go. Even if the government puts CCTV camera in the entire street, or the government is thinking about putting security in every homes, the security may not be with you everywhere. The country is not vulnerable, but we as citizens, we ought to be careful because there are some things happening in our country that is currently being investigated, and it is not for us to be making conclusions when there are ongoing investigations. So the president's context was very clear. Yeah, Justice.
Yeah, thank you. I got two quick questions. One is about the current refugee situation in Nimba and Grand Juliet County. I guess you didn't talk about it, but I think it's a suit issue right now, given the political situation in Cote d'Ivoire. With the refugee situation and the circumstances under which the Ivorians are coming back to Liberia, is it a matter that tramples or that tampers with the bilateral relationship that subsists between Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire? What is our government's stance with the political situation in Ivory Coast? Because we are part of the Mano River Union. That's one. Two is your analogy made with reference to the caterpillar in River Cess County. Viewers now, or other people who have not seen that caterpillar or the snake, will see it as a mere conspiracy theory that you are pushing on this huge platform. So aren't you afraid that there could be a backlash, or you could be held for discretion?
No. So what I'll actually reference is that it is recorded. This is not a gossip. All of you here, you've gone through Liberia, you've heard the story. So when you hear me reference that we are afraid that we should not have the same sort of a situation in River Cess. Just as you come from the southeast, you've heard that story several times. Maybe you haven't heard it. So let me say that. Maybe you haven't heard it. But even if you are driving to River Cess, I'm told that that machine stays set in that particular location. Maybe that was then in the 14th century or in the 15th century. But 21st century, we can be talking about whether it is a myth.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've gone to Riverside times with our numbers. So it is glaring, it is evident. And the reason why I raise it and I say it is comical is that if the government have decided to do a rule here, and every time this moving equipment gets on this road, at a particular point, it encountered a breakdown, it's not going to move. They bring another one, brand new one, then it tells you that in our African setting, we are African, we are Liberians. So there are different beliefs about that. So when we start to hear that the dollar market, that all of the excitement to demolish the market, the president has gone there, the Japanese government have made some commitment in terms of payment to the contractors, but they've taken their caterpillars 4 times. I'm not saying one. They may not report for the first time. They've done it the second time, the third time, and the 4th time. So they are having some suspicious belief. We hear people say, let's pray before we break the market structure down.
Witchcraft?
So they may be assuming that witchcraft activity, right? So if you carry the caterpillar day 1, you carry day 2, you carry day 3, you're not carrying just any kind of caterpillar because you need to demolish that whole structure. But all of the 4 machines have encountered the same problem. So they are concerned. And it is for development. It is not for people, to get involved. So sometimes we raise these things because some of these things lead to delay in meeting project time frame. The president has given that project a time frame. That project should be ending, I'm told it should be what? Was that 11 months or some months? What, 11 months?
Yeah.
So if we take 1 whole month to do fast and pray before we break the building, if we take 2 months for the caterpillar to move from 1 point to get to 1 pillow, then you know the delay is going to cause. And the reflection comes on the president's promise. So the man will say something, they are not happy. But the president is waiting, the team is waiting to demolish the whole dollar market. Sunday, no way. Since Sunday, they've been fighting on that thing. They carry all the caterpillar in there. So you reach there, they develop problem. Now they're trying to pray. Right? Now they're trying to pray so that the caterpillar then can get strength to bust the building. So on the issue of Cote d'Ivoire is a regional issue. Again, you know that our president is one of the presidents respected in the region very highly. So security in the region is of concern. The issues leading to people crossing the border, I'm told some of it is for their own security because they know that the situation in their country sometimes tend to be volatile. But we as a country, we are concerned our state securities are informed about movement across our border with refugees. The Liberia refugees, repatriation and resettlement people are on top of that information. I'm sure they've been briefing the president and other authorities, likewise the issue of the state security. So we are keeping our eyes on it. We're hoping that there will not be further security escalation in the country that will affect the region, because if there's anything electoral-wise or any violence that spilled out in La Côte d'Ivoire will affect our country. We had similar experience here when we had situation here, it affected our neighboring countries. The region has been peaceful. There's been election in Guinea. The president has been following that election. He's been talking to the leaders about keeping the region peaceful. I'm sure the leaders are talking, and the other issue with people movement will also be monitored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you believe?
Yeah. My name is Yumiri Masalia. I work for Sky Communications. I'm concerned about a rule of law. Okay. recently the ECOWAS court in Abuja had a ruling on the former Associate Justice, Cabinet Jane. It asked the government of Liberia to pay Cabinet Jane $200,000 United States dollars with other benefits. So I want to know from you, how did this message meet the president? Is he going to pay a lump sum of money to Cabinet Jane?
Well, you see the way our jurisprudence or our country has been structured. The president runs the executive, and the judiciary is also being run by the Chief Justice, and then the National Legislature is also there. So to have the president to get involved with judicial matters, that is why when matters goes to court, then the president hands off, because it now turned to be a legal issue. And it is not possible for the president to get involved into those legal things. So when there are issues confronting the another branch of government that have to do with the judiciary, the president is going to stay off and make sure that those issues are handled. It was a judicial issue. It was not issue between the executive and the former Justice Jane. It was something that had to do with their function and their branch of government. So it is not for the president to get involved. The president is not going to. So if the court rule, the ruling comes to another branch of government, even though it is part of the legal governance of the country, but that's a separate branch of government. So show that the president is not going to get involved into that judicial issue. Is with the justice system. The Chief Justice is there. He runs that affairs of the country. Judicial wise, they know how to handle all of that technical issues. So it is not for the president to melt into that branch of government affairs. Maybe the last question?
Yeah. Yes, my name is Mara Fatuma. Now I work for Global Team. My concern has been the issue of the US raid, which have caused a local market one, being face-to-face front with buyers and other sellers, even money exchange folks as well. What have been the president's concern relating to this crisis unfolding in the country?
Well, I think the issue of the US rate, again, the central bank, I'm told that they've been working with the national legislature on some of those financial issues that had to do with the economy. What we are hearing, again, you remember that the last time around, we had some situation in the banking sector. Those reforms are ongoing. There are issues that are being handled. The president is in talk with the authority at the central bank to find a remedy to the current situation with the Liberian dollar and the US dollar. So those are ongoing discussion. It is not an issue that can be handled immediately, but I know that the government is not going to collapse with the current situation. The central bank has made some comment about it. They are the technocrat to the issue, and you've heard their approach. You also hearing lawmakers' approach to the situation. So coordination around the issue are ongoing, and we are looking to a very short time to finally see what that situation is going to lead us to. Again, what is about the exchange rate is about price control. It is a coordination issue, and we are looking forward to seeing that the government and the players in the sector, the people in the banking sector, the people at the central bank, and all of the technocrats around the sector can put their acts together, because it is not for us to be where we are. But again, it is a technical issue. I mean, I have all of the technical detail to that, and I wouldn't want to dabble into a situation that will not occur very well for this platform. So let's see what the technicians will advise the president in the days ahead. So I want to say thanks to. You want to ask the final question? Yeah, please.
Mr. Toby, my own question and concern have to do with the issue of street lights. And when the lighting of the street lights appeared there, the president said the light is into various phases. January will be the closing, and December 25th, we see the entire city being lit up.
Yeah.
But as you still move around, there are poles and pillars still being planted around that a pole being put into ground. Is the government committed in holding to the December 25th and term that was laid out?
The first thing you need to know that between now and November 29th, don't you go to December, November 29th, between Liberia Junction to Duko, that commitment will be fulfilled. All of the poles will arrive from Morocco in the next few days. The poles are already en route to the country. And you see why the people are doing the pedestals, because the hardest thing to do is to do the pedestal. So you see people working along the road, they are putting in those pedestals. When the pole arrive, you see massive work of installation, and the president wants to live up to that. First commitment is November 29th. So let's see lights from Liberia Junction straight to Duko. The rest of the roads leading to the Douala and the Marco Francis, the Boulevard Junction to 72nd Junction and what have you, will be going on while we're moving into the December. But the first phase is still living up to expectation. I heard the Minister of State talked about it on yesterday. That is a project that that is just within its own time frame. By the way, if all goes well, the executive mansion, this place will not be our home as of next year. If all stays well, by February of next year, the president should be relocating to his official executive mansion complex. That is a very rigorous job. Finishing touches are ongoing. Whether they finish it or they finish it, the president thinks that this is not the place the presidency belongs. It's been there 12 years. They put money in the budget for 12 years. Whether they diverted it or they use it for different reasons, this administration thinks that whatever dime that goes to the budget for the purpose of that executive mansion should be used for the intended purpose. The chiefs and elders of the land have told the president, if he can move in the executive mansion, Zanzan Kawaden say they will go there, they will be living there. So the president say he will go to the executive mansion. So they are working. So we'll not sit here and just think that nothing happening. Everything that President Weah wants to see happen, whether it's gradual or it's on a snail pace, is going to happen. So you're going to see the lights, you're going to see the installation of the poles, the guys are doing the pedestals, you're going to see the arrival of transformer on the 20th, you're going to see the installation of transformer on the 22nd, you're going to see roads in the dry season, people will start working on the Vera roads as earmark. So a lot more will happen. All you need to do is to remain peaceful. The country needs to be peaceful. But our friends out there who are angry and still don't believe that there's a president called President Weah, they need to wait until maybe after 6 years or after 12 years, then they will come with all of the solution to the problem that they've identified. The one we've seen, we will work on it, we will finish it. For those of the people who got the blueprint, we can keep it. We'll keep doing the work that we know how to do best. And this president knows that development will be something that he will be remembered for. Again, I want to say thanks to all of you for coming. It was good seeing you. We hope again we'll see on next Tuesday. But it's always wonderful. Thanks to your viewers on your viewer platform. And next week, we'll be back here. Thanks very much.